Hey guys, Mike here. So hope everybody had a great weekend. It's going to be another super busy week ahead of us with a boatload of earnings. We've got past most of the Mag 8 so far. All we have is NVIDIA to report. They'll do it in November. Avgo's not until December, so you don't have to worry about that. But obviously, some things we're going to talk about today is breadth. You're hearing a lot about it. I'll show you what they're talking about. What to look out for. This is very important because even Tom Lee came out this weekend and said, I still expect a year-end rally. Maybe November is going to be a lot choppier than he thought it was going to be because, again, September we ran up, August we ran up, October was super volatile, but guess what we ended up doing at the end? Ran up, right? So it's like, okay, how much juice do you got left to squeeze out of this thing? So that's what we're going to find out right there. We'll also talk about Berkshire Hathaway for just a second, something the NVIDIA CEO said, which is very important this weekend. And then we'll get into some stock charts. And, especially like Meta, for example, there's one thing you do not want to see happen on Meta if you're a shareholder, or you might because you'll get it at a much lower price if this happens. And I've showed you this kind of chart before, and it played out, and well, you're able to get a lot of stocks on sale when it happens. So now, as far as the high beta stuff, I went over a lot of stocks on Saturday video. You guys request a lot of stocks. I go over them. Go watch that video if you hadn't. That's where you'll see the RGTIs and things like that we talked about because that one looks like it's setting up pretty well. But talking about breadth, I mean, nobody argues this point. It gets a lot of talk. But this is performance over the past month, and you can see XLK is 7%. Even healthcare was 6%. NASDAQ 106%. S&P, XLU. Again, you look at the bottom, XLC, XLF, XLB, XLE, XLY, XLRE, all negative. XLP is negative. And so, again, we'll get into the sectors and what you need to see happen. And you can see the stocks above the moving averages. They don't have the 200 on here, but this is percentage of stocks above the 150, 75, and 50 SMA. But even like I show members every morning, Monday through Friday, even the 200, and I showed you guys this the other day in a video, it's just been coming down. Right now, again, we've seen this before. Here is what's been happening. This percentage of S&P 500 stocks above the 50-day moving average has been declining since July, but the market has ran. Why? Because it is super, super concentrated. Okay, that we all know, that we can all agree on. So how much more juice can you get out of all of them? Well, we'll talk about that in just a second. We have seen this movie before many times. As you can see right here, this was end of 2024 going into 2025. Same thing was happening. The breath was falling off a cliff, but guess what? That year-end rally still happened. And then, of course, we got the sell-off after that. This is 2024 and 2023. You can see right here. Actually began in 2024, really. Big move up. Breath falls off a cliff, as you can see. And then if you look at that pullback, it doesn't look like much right there. But we ended up getting about a 10% pullback, but it took months. Okay, so this stuff does ride out. And you're just looking like Friday, we had a little bit better breath, right? We had all these sectors that were red finally turned green. The Mag 8 wasn't sitting there pulling up everything. A lot of them were red on Friday. And so, you just have to have more sectors participate in this, especially like financials, things of that nature. But when you look at the Mag 8, you see NVIDIA is at price discovery, Apple's in price discovery, Google's in price discovery, Avgo's in price discovery, Amazon's in price discovery, and so they have no resistance really above them. If Microsoft joins that fray, obviously the second or third, depending on what Apple and them do, heaviest weight of stocks. If Meta, which we're going to talk about that one, can get out of its own way and start moving back up, and Tesla, again, coming in this best month of the year, starts moving back up, then yeah, they can continue to carry it. I mean, when you got 7, 8 stocks accounting for dang near 35 to 40% of an index, a major index, the index, then yeah, that can happen, especially coming into this. We're not only coming into the best month of the year, we're coming into the best 6 months of the year right here, November through April. Now, again, this is just a stat. Doesn't mean it's got to happen. I'm going to show you on this chart exactly what I'm talking about when I say that. But you can see November through April, average percent of change, about 7.1% on the S&P. It's going to be much higher on the Qs. And then percent higher is about 77% of the time. Okay, so more than 3/4. But when you look at the bottom, look at May to October. It's supposed to be the worst time, right? Well, that didn't happen because, remember, we crashed in April. So May through October was excellent, especially when you consider August, September, so it'll be the 2 worst months. So again, these are just stats. I'm just showing it to you. And one thing that can help this obvious is NVIDIA. And you saw their CEO say that President Trump and the Chinese president's new trade deal ensures NVIDIA can compete in China. If that is true or turns out to be true and they just let them do it, that is huge, okay? Huge. Now, Berkshire Hathaway obviously had news out, and you can see they offloaded another $6.1 billion in stock. Cash pile soared to $387 billion in Q3. You can see this chart is amazing to watch from 2023 to 2025. Again, this is not cash. Let me be very clear on there. They're not sitting here with 300 and whatever it is, 87 billion in cash. On every Monday, as Warren Buffett said repeatedly, they buy treasuries, and they buy a lot. Berkshire Hathaway is a company. Just that one company owns 5% of all the U.S. Treasury bill market. That's amazing. $315 billion. And it has to be up from that because that's mid-2025. Now, this is nothing new for them. Remember the dot-com bubble? Guess what happened? S&P is going up like crazy. Berkshire Hathaway is dropping on this major ride in S&P, and it was a big drop. But what happened during the dot-com bubble? Berkshire Hathaway went up while everything else was going down. Okay, so big difference there. And so whenever the bubble pops, they'll have their cash. They'll do what they always do. You can see it just basically followed up from here. And you're starting to see a divergence now. I don't know if it's going to continue or not. Again, Berkshire Hathaway is about now 15%. At the same time, the S&P is actually up since probably like April or May right there. And so we'll see if that's going to continue. But remember, the amount of dividends and those treasury payments they get is unbelievable. Okay, and they're just sitting there with cash, just waiting, being disciplined about it. So, and I think you'll probably see a repeat. As next year, there's a lot of people talking about what they're going to try to ride and get all the juice squeezed out of this thing they can, and then exit out. And if you end up having a big drop next year, okay, which will be, if we keep going and going, we'll be well overdue for that. Then if that happens, then that's what they're going to come in at and start buying it up, right? And it's kind of like a safe play once you go in there, just because of the way they run their business. Now, again, I don't know the whole deal. You know, obviously Warren Buffett's retired, all that stuff, and so who knows how this company's going to run from here on out. But you know, we'll see. Let me know what you think about that kind of stuff. Anyway, now looking at the S&P, almost completely filled this gap last week right here, and another gap right down below, which was previous all-time high as well. And so if you go to Qs, you can see this one though obviously has a much bigger gap down below. And if it does come down, it'll correlate with this trend line, actually both trend lines to fill the gap and go. So that would actually be a really nice move down if you can get it. But right now, I think a lot of this is going to depend on the breadth, right? If you start to see these other sectors start to push higher and you don't see a major move out of, which, you know, why would you, these MAG 8 stocks, then you can see us start to push. But I think, even like Tommy said, is it going to be choppier? Probably so. I'm not going to be surprised if it's a lot choppier. But I'm going to be watching those equal weight ETFs like RSP, QQEW, Dow Jones Transportation trying to break out. Those are the things you really want to watch. Now, looking at Tesla, this one right here is just kind of sitting here looking for a bigger move. Okay, it had a nice day on Friday, that was. But you can see it's starting to wedge tighter here. Okay, and if it breaks up, which a lot of people expect it to, you know, between 468 and 475 right there is going to be your next level up. If we end up breaking down, because there is one event that's going to happen, which we'll talk about, then just look for 440 to 446 right there to fill that gap. Now, what's really crazy is when you look at the chart, it's only like 6.4% away from all-time highs. That is it. Like Tesla can do that in one day if it wants to. And again, we're entering the best month of the year for Tesla with a 73% win rate, about 12% average return. And the big event, of course, I don't know how it's going to affect everything, is going to be the vote this week to whether or not Elon Musk gets that $1 trillion pay package. It'll happen on November 6th. And so watch out for that. And definitely let me know on the bottom, you know, if you're a shareholder and what you're going to vote. You're going to vote yes or vote no, because that is a very big pay package. And the big threat is like, oh, we can leave Tesla, but we'll see. Let me know how you guys are going to vote on that if you are. Now, Meta, everybody's talking about this one because clearly after that 200 moving average rejection right there, big slap down, broke the low of what was the earnings gap down there. And when you look out on the weekly, it's like, whoo, what a candle for Meta on the weekly right here. And so can this one go lower? Absolutely can go lower. Right now at 200 in that area I've already showed you, a lot of confluence there with that anchor VWAP, the 200, and what will be a level of resistance now if it got rejected right there. But everybody's going to be eyeballing between 598, 620-ish, because that'll fill a gap, coming to the golden pocket, coming to this trend line right here as well, which has bounced off of multiple times for over a year now. And so that would be, I think a lot of buyers would be stepping in right there. But one thing you got to watch very carefully is the RSI and MACD right here, because clearly, like I was talking a couple weeks ago, momentum's not on its side. The weekly, the RSI is below 50. You can see the MACD right there, already had the bearish MACD cross. And when you go to the higher time frame, the most concerning is going to be on the monthly, because forget the RSI. That one's already broke the moving average, but it ain't below 50. But look what's happening right on the MACD. If you get that bearish MACD cross, like a full bearish MACD cross, it's been a minute since that happened. Okay, I mean, on the monthly, it rarely happens, especially for any kind of Mag 8 stock, for sure. But when you look, you got to go back all the way to 2021. So 4 years. All right, and I'm not saying that's going to happen at all. But you can see the smaller crosses here. And remember, this thing's already down past 20%. And so, you need a bounce from here. And so, again, this is a monthly. So you still could come down to the area we talked about between 598, 623 and still not get that bearish monthly MACD cross, because you got to get through November. And so that's something to think about. But again, look at that right there. Those two big monthly fair value gaps lining up. So that does make for a really good support as well. So that is confluence. You need to hold that area. All right. Now, AMD reports this week. This one right here, man, if we end up going up on earnings, I'll be stunned, because it's so far stretched from the moving averages. It usually doesn't have some crazy, move like you saw on Amazon. But, there you saw a dip like the day after earnings, and then it sold out after. That's kind of how you get with this one. It'll have a move, because one time it popped up and then it just sold off for like 2 weeks. But again, when they get stretched above the moving averages, this ain't an NVIDIA. It's not a Microsoft or anything like that. Their margins are thin, so they're not reporting those crazy kind of numbers, no kind of crazy like Oracle numbers. And being this far stretched above the moving average coming in earnings, especially with this setup, like I say, it could go up. I never try to predict it won't do it, because technically it is basically in price discovery, but man, it's going to have to report some crazy earnings to me to get this pop right here. And again, to move down to that line is 10%, but there's a honking gap below as well. And it just doesn't report those kind of NVIDIA blow your mind numbers. It hadn't had an NVIDIA moment that I can remember like Oracle did. When it's going, the backlog is this insane bar chart right here. I mean, that's what it's going to need. And that could happen. Again, I try not to predict on these AI stocks, because they've blown us away, right? I mean, nobody thought Meta be down as far and Amazon be where it's at right now. A lot of, if you really think about it, but here we are. Now, UNH right here, you can see once it got rejected at that 200, which was in extended hours, I showed you guys this, major rejection, broke the trend line, broke this anchored VWAP right here, which was resistance, then support. So now we're below that. And so again, and also it's below the 50 now. So, healthcare stocks, right? It's had a major rise up. It's in the tech stock and in the AI stock. It's probably not getting any kind of open AI, partnerships or anything. And so this thing needs to regain the 50. It does not. Then watch for 302 to 315 somewhere in here to actually fill this gap, test these anchor VWAPs and all that fun stuff. But that's what you're looking at on UNH. And a lot of this, I think, is going to depend on what they do. If they do make a deal to extend the subsidies for healthcare insurance or not, and people, because I don't know, if people's premiums start going through the roof, well, we'll see. I mean, I think I asked you guys a comment on that. I didn't hear from anybody, so we'll see how it's going to affect UNH. Now, a lot of earnings. I mean, so let's just start wrapping these things off of here. You got Sapphire Mining, right out of the gate, on Semi, Fubo, and then when we come over to the afternoon, you can see we got Palantir, which I know a lot of people are in. This thing's been running again. Hims and Hers, which have been hurting, Navitas or Navitas, Goodyear, and then Reality Income as well. And then Tuesday, you got a boatload: Uber, Shopify, Spotify, Pfizer, Hut 8, EF Energy Fuels, BP, Ferrari, Norwegian Cruise Lines. And then there's Tuesday: AMD, Arista, Supermicro, Beyond Meat, Marathon, Digital, Upstart, and then Pinterest at the very bottom. I haven't looked at the Pinterest chart in a while, so I don't even know what it's doing. Wednesday, you're going to go with Novo Nordisk, which is the diet drugs, Humana, McDonald's, Unity, Cameco, which had a huge pop-up already, Brinks, and then in the afternoon, one that's been running up like crazy, Robinhood, IONQ, AppLovin, AMC, Dutch Brothers, Qualcomm, ARM, Snap, Figma, and Elf. Whew. And then Thursday, D-Wave, ConocoPhillips, Oscar, that's health insurance, Vistra Energy, Datadog, Warner Brothers, and Moderna at the very bottom. Then in the afternoon, Trade Desk, Open Door, MP Materials, Iris Energy, SoundHound, DraftKings, NewScale, Archer, and Airbnb. And then Friday, things kind of slow down with Constellation Brands, Wendy's, and then Six Flags and Duke Energy. Now, data, most of this is tentative because we still got the shutdown going on. You might end up with final manufacturing PMI, ISM manufacturing PMI, ISM manufacturing prices. That should come out. Construction spending probably won't. Then on Tuesday, all of that's tentative, so you probably don't get JOLTS job openings unless something happens on Monday. On Wednesday here, maybe we get ADP non-farm employment changes, final services PMI, ISM services PMI, and crude oil inventories. Then we'll flip to Thursday and Friday, a whole lot more tentative data here, as you can see. So I don't think we're going to get unemployment claims. And then on Friday, of course, everything's tentative. Core PCE, average hourly earnings, non-farm employment changes, employment rate, personal income, personal spending, preliminary university admission consumer sentiment, preliminary university admission inflation preliminary university admission inflation expectations, and consumer credit. Again, most of this is tentative, guys. So buckle up for another fun week. Please hit that like, subscribe button on your way out. Appreciate all you guys who watch and share the videos and give it a thumbs up. And let's sign up for the membership. Left the McDonald's combo at $7.99. So everything you get with it, just hit the first link down at the bottom of the description. And I will see you guys tomorrow to wrap up how the week starts. Have a good one.